So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector. And today we're doing a driving interview. I have here Stan. He's the lead singer for Terminal Nation. And hopefully, this interview won't end in a terminal situation. You see what I did there? So, Stan, how are you?
Very good. I am great. I am great. Thank you for having me. I just got tattooed. I just picked up the kids from school. I've been a busy man today, doing a lot of press for the new album. Very busy. How about yourself?
Well, I'm busy myself, so I listened to the album. So I listened to it in full, and I listened to other of your material. So yeah, this album, it's pretty like I know that you guys are a mixture of like death metal with hardcore. So I know that the last album that you put out was in 2020. So you have 4 years of a lot of shit that has happened because I read the lyrics, and most of the lyrics you like to talk about like real stuff that happens, especially stuff that happens in the world and in your country. So let's talk a little bit about that. So I know that one of the singles that you released, "Merchants of Bloodshed," that's my favorite song from the record, by the way.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, you got Jesse Leach from Killswitch engaged on that one. So tell me a little bit about the the lyrics behind that track and also working with Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wrote that track, and we knew as we were writing it, we worked very closely with our producer, Ryan Bram, who has produced albums for Spirit Adrift, Gate Creeper, Creeping Death, a lot of great bands he's worked with in the past. But we wrote that song, and we hollowed out the bones of the instrumentals first before we kind of added the end. But it was kind of written in a very unique way to how we normally write songs, where there's at the beginning you see a verse, chorus, verse, bridge style, and that's not normally something that you see in the death metal or hardcore realm of things. The song structures are more linear, so we took a little bit of chance there, but we found that we kind of created something pretty catchy, and we wanted to stay true to ourselves. So we, in typical Terminal Nation fashion, we added a big a bridge into a big heavy moshy breakdown in the song. And while a lot of bands would probably end it there, we were playing around with a synthesizer and came up with some some keyboard parts, and we felt like, yo, this sounds exceptionally cool, almost eerie. Why don't we just ride with it? And then the instrumentals came in right after the keyboard part, and we were like, this almost feels like it doesn't work, but at the same time it does work. So we kept it, but it was such a ballad-like section that we felt like we had to have a proper, somebody who can sing. I am not a singer. I'm a metal hardcore vocalist, but I am not a two-time Grammy nominated singer, if you will. And so we had a little bit of a relationship with Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage. He had said some nice things about the band in an interview previously, and he had messaged us on Instagram months and months earlier, just saying that he, hey, really love you guys, love what you're doing. You remind me of this band, that band. Really looking forward to any new material. And so we thought, why not hit up Jesse, because he can sing. He can sing damn well. Why don't we hit up Jesse and see if he's open to the idea? That's it. And shockingly enough, his answer was, I believe, hey guys, sorry, I wouldn't be able to make it happen for another 2 or 3 months. So if you're kind of rushed to get it out, I'm sorry. And I was like, whoa. He is down to do it. It's just He's
You
apologizing
can
that it
wait
might
for this.
take 2 months. Oh hell, I'll wait a year if he would have told me. So yeah, we were like, no problem at all, dude. Take your time. Um, and he was like, okay, cool. So I sent him the song. He's like, oh, I love this. I sent him the lyrics. Oh, I love this. And I was afraid, with a band as big as Killswitch Engage, there might be some red tape involved. He might say, hey, I don't know that I can sing about this subject matter. I don't know that I can openly, I don't want to upset some of my fan base. They have a much larger fan base of people of all walks of life. It's obviously very clearly an anti-war song, very directed at U.S. imperialism, a lot of which we're seeing today. And he read the lyrics. He straight up said these lyrics are perfect. He changed nothing about it. All the lyrics he sang are lyrics that I wrote, which is
Oh, that's what I
kind
was
of
going to ask you if he added some of his lyrics.
he added none of his lyrics. He said, "There's really nothing that I could change to make this better." And hearing that from a dude who has written classic albums, from a dude who's been in a band that inspired members of this band to play music, it's pretty remarkable thing to hear, and it made me feel pretty good, not gonna lie. So yeah, he went for it, and that man is a professional in every sense of the word. Obviously we have other guest vocalists on the record,
Yeah, you do.
um but with him, he sent us a page or like a PDF, and he's like, here's exactly how my vocals need to be mixed. Here's exactly how they need to be tweaked. Send all of this to your engineer, and this is exactly how it should be done. That's the only time we've ever had a guest vocalist do that. But again, the man is a consummate professional, so he knows exactly how he sounds best. He knows exactly how he should be mixed. So we went, whatever he told us, he knows his voice better than anyone else. So we went with it. So that's kind of how that all came to be. The lyrics, specifically, like I said, very anti-war, anti-U.S. imperialism. While the U.S. may not necessarily be at war currently, they're always at war, or at least partaking in war, or financing a war, or training other people to be at war, so on and so forth. And this song is pretty much about that, because war is a very, very profitable business venture, and
Like Dave Mustaine
that's
would
what this is
say,
about.
peace sells, but who's buying?
Yo, yes, exactly. A wise man once said, yes, yes, hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, yeah. A lot of companies profit from war, and there's not like a huge like World War III, but there's always something going on, and yes, always, yeah. I can understand, but yeah, no, Jesse's vocals on that part really shine, so he knows how to make it shine well. And besides being Killswitch Engage, I think he's got a hardcore band that is like a smaller band. I can't
He
remember
does.
the name, but yeah, he's a fan of hardcore and other styles. So yeah, it's cool that he made a cameo on that track.
Correct. Yes, he is very much, and he reiterated this to us. When he kind of sent us a cold message on Instagram, he was like, "Hey, I don't know if he felt the need to kind of add some credibility to himself. He didn't have to, brother. We're impressed with what you've done, but he told he made sure to tell me that he comes from a punk hardcore background. I believe he mentioned you guys sound like my favorite parts of Obituary, Trap Them, His Hero Is Gone, and maybe another band, maybe Crowbar or something like that. But so he's very well versed in underground music. Some even like His Hero's Gone, it's not a it's that's a not a household name even in the metal world. So him mentioning that, him mentioning Obituary, I'm like, this is all flattering to hear, especially coming from you, but obviously you know what you're talking about. You understand, you do come from this world. So that's cool. And the fact that he saw those lyrics and he was like, yeah, this is cool with me. I'm not offended by any bit of this, and I'm willing to sing about this subject matter, even though, if some of my fan base hears it, they may be like, I don't like that you said that. So he was very cool. It was very awesome working, surreal working with him, and we've kept in touch. He's just a solid dude all around.
Awesome. So, so this album lyrically is strong. There's a lot of subject matter that you cover on this track, and there's a track in particular that I want to talk about because I don't think I've heard a track dissing the police as much as in the '90s with Fuck the Police by NWA and obviously
Sure.
Body Count, Cop Killer.
Sure.
So the song that I'm talking about is No Reform, New Age, State Patrol.
Sure.
I'm guessing the main thing that triggered this, obviously, what happened in Minneapolis a few years ago.
Sure.
That's just a little bit of like police brutality that happens in the U.S. So tell me about that track.
Yeah. So I've had a pretty tumultuous relationship with police historically. So I am full transparency of Latino heritage, Salvadoreño, and I
Puerto
live
Rican.
in the beautiful. Love to see it. Love to see it. And so, but I live in the deep red South. And so there's while I think sometimes things get exacerbated or exaggerated a little bit. Um, there is a lot of xenophobia, a lot of racism, especially obviously in the last 8 or so years, here in the South with Latinos. Now, when I was 17 years old, I was a little shithead, who got into trouble here and there. I doing some graffiti. A police officer here in a redneck town in Arkansas caught me and another friend of mine who was Native American, but in the police officer's eyes, this is just two brown boys, and they pulled guns on us, and that's I've lived in East LA. I've lived in rough parts of Little Rock. I've lived in the first time I ever had a gun pulled on me, it was when I was, I believe, 17 years old, by a police officer here in Arkansas. And he pointed it right at my head and he said, I will fucking kill you. Use some racial slurs towards me. And I was like, whoa, this is escalating really fast. It's hard to process, especially as a young kid. And that's, and I grew up on a lot of punk music. So I'm not a stranger to the NWA song you had mentioned, the Body Count song. I'm
Of course.
familiar with all of that. And just from personal experience, from in this day and age where everybody walks around with a video recording device, we see a lot more misconduct from police who are people who have sworn to take an oath to protect, but there's not a whole lot of protecting going on, in all reality. I mean, I'm sure it exists to a certain extent, and probably more so for a specific subset of people. But I can conclusively say that I've never in my life had a positive reaction or a positive interaction with the police. So this kind of just unleashes my frustration in that. Um, it's 2024. We should have moved beyond any sort of institutionalized racism, but it still exists, and it's still a problem. So yeah, that's basically it's summed up from a lot of things. Obviously, the civil unrest in 2020, and some of my own personal experiences, and the things that continue to happen every couple of months. You hear of another unarmed individual being shot by the police, so on and so forth. And so that's basically the basis of the song. It's to say that it's an angry one is I would say an understatement for sure.
Understatement to say that it's an angry one. I've lived in the States as well. And as you can tell, I'm a very pale Puerto Rican.
Sure.
But when I'm over there, they tell me, "Oh no, you are Puerto Rican." I'm like, "That's not really a color, but okay." So yeah, I can
Right.
understand. I didn't have. Luckily, I never had like an experience like you had with the police, but I grew up in Puerto Rico, so the police here is kind of different uh, from the
Sure.
police.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we're a very mixed country. That's not to say that there's not racism here, because I think there's racism everywhere in the world,
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah, no, the US is it's very strong, and it's palpable, like you can you can really feel it. So yeah, that's a really strong track, and the ending of that song, because I was reading the lyrics, that's the more heavier part of the song at the end.
Sure.
uh but yeah, it's it's very potent song. Uh so when you're writing lyrics, do you always try to write lyrics based on stuff that happens in reality to you, or maybe someone you know, or how do you tackle that?
No, no, you nailed it. You hit it right on the head. It's all about it's all a product of my environment. It's all things that either I've witnessed, maybe in person, maybe experienced in person, or am seeing in the world around me. So that's how I approach things. Maybe a little bit of a unique approach for a death metal band. Um, but I don't I fantasy and songwriting has just never been my thing. I'm fully transparent when I say that I've always been a guy who came from a punk rock world, who came from a hardcore world. And so, I'm not writing songs about slaying dragons or magic or anything like that. I love a lot of that music, but that's just not what I'm aiming to do in my band. I talk about certain injustices, and if it's not that, it's experiences that I've had firsthand, or I've seen my friends or my family experience firsthand.
Yeah, Empire in Decay reminded me, not like musically, but it reminded me of like when Rage Against the Machine that had the Evil Empire. uh
Sure, sure.
yeah, maybe, hey, maybe growing up Rage Against the Machine was an inspiration for you, I don't know.
So I wasn't the biggest Rage Against the Machine fan growing up. I was aware of them, and I loved like the singles, and I loved the obviously the messaging, the imagery. I thought that was really really sick. But I know there's people that worship the ground that band walks on. And I'm familiar with their catalog. Um, it's just I'm not the biggest. It's hard to say that, like, oh, they're a
Oh
huge
yeah,
inspiration.
musically your band, it's very different type of music.
Sure, sure, sure. But I appreciate everything they do, and I would say honestly they're probably an inspiration to a degree, but there's definitely people out there who are probably bigger Rage Against the Machine fans than I am. Not to say that I don't respect the hell out of that band. I do really like that band.
Yeah, because Empire in Decay, obviously, you're talking about the country, House in Decay, Constant
Sure.
Decay. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Like for you, another track that you had that is one of the singles, is written by the Vector, right?
Correct. Yes, yes.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about that one, because that's one of the other tracks that's available. Even though that right now, as we speak, I know that the album is being people are listening to it right now because there's it's streaming. I don't know, was it on Decibel? I don't know where it's streaming.
Oh, maybe so, maybe so. I've been tied up with a few personal things right before I jumped on the call. So today's been a little bit of a wild day as things are moving very, very fast. I've got interviews to answer, stuff like that. The press has been off. It's hard to keep up with. I'll just say that. So if it's streaming now, that's awesome. That's badass. I'm
And
glad
that
to hear
one
that.
features Todd Jones of Nails. So that's another
Correct.
the guest star. So tell me a little bit about that track in particular and working with him.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, and being 100% honest here, so Todd Jones wasn't the first pick for that track. I I I don't want it to come off in a negative way, so I won't say who was going to do it. And it was not their fault in any way. It's a musician that I really respect and admire, but we were at crunch time in terms of needing a mix for the song. We had just a few days before we had to turn it in for mixing to be able to meet certain deadlines. And the gentleman who was going to do guest vocals ended up getting COVID. and lost his voice.
Oh,
And
that.
so we were like, damn. So I had written that part to be sang by another person. Now, the bass player in Terminal Nation, Chase, he does a lot of secondary vocals, a lot of backup vocals in the album. But I didn't envision this part to be sung by him. And so it kind of was a little bit of oh, a hurdle at the very last minute for sure. Um, and so what I ended up doing is we ended up getting followed by the band Nails. I'm sure you're probably aware, a lot of people are aware now that the band is kind of reforming. They're putting out a new album coming soon. And you know, they've been on I believe a 6, 7, 8 year hiatus since their last release. It's been years. I know that for sure. Um and so this is going to be a very long awaited anticipated album, and I think Todd Jones has kind of been away from being involved in the metal scene. I understand he still goes to shows on a regular basis, but in at least out playing and things like that. And there's a whole new crop of bands now than there was when their last record came out. Things are a lot different. And so he had just followed us again. He had just followed us on Instagram maybe the day before, and I was like, okay, if he's following us on Instagram, he's obviously aware of us to a certain extent. Um, we just found out that the guy who was gonna do the guest vocals can't. I'm about to do the a crazy person thing and just cold email Nails or send a message to Nails and say, hey, I appreciate the follow, big fan. Was at your show in Little Rock, Arkansas, where we live, 13, 14 years ago, I believe, when they were a very, very small band. But I've seen the band like 5 different times. I've seen them in Dallas. I've seen them at a few other shows. Been a big fan for over a decade. We had a guest vocalist for this song, and I sent him the track,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, the guy is not able to do it. I know this is a crazy ask, but you did just follow us, so I think that maybe you're aware of us a little bit. But if you can't do it, no stress. But would you be interested in doing guest vocals? Here are the lyrics that I have written. Feel free to, suggest changes. Um, Also, we need it in like 3 days,
Oh, wow.
and
No
yeah,
pressure.
yeah. So I this was like such a Hail Mary, and he was like, "Hey, I have a studio at home. Let me listen to it, and I'll try to get it to you tomorrow." Or I actually, he said, "I will get it to you tomorrow," I believe. And also, Todd Jones, I know in the media, he's a lot of people, he has a reputation for being difficult to work with, being a jerk, whatever. I did not get that impression at all. He was super nice. He said, "Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for thinking about me. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. I'm honored to do this." We're a small little band, brother. I don't it's kind of wild to hear him say that he's honored to be on our song. So I thought that was very, very cool of him. And guess what? He had the track available for us the next day.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so it was very good, or his vocal track the next day. So it was very cool. And right before a week leading into the album coming out, we thought, oh, we're kind of late to the game. We have some cool live footage that we could do a live music video for. Some B-roll, some war footage. But it would be very weird to have a music video without the guest vocalist of the track in the music video, to have him omitted. I would rather just not do a music video than have a music video without the guest on there. I happen to be going to California to get some legal documents. That's where I was born. That's where I was raised. Um, Full transparency, a year ago, a tornado hit my house and destroyed a lot of my vital records.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I need a birth certificate to get a passport, and I need a passport to do some things that Terminal Nation has planned in the near future. So the quickest way to expedite it, I could wait 12 weeks for a birth certificate, then 8 weeks for a passport. I applied for an expedited passport, but they needed a birth certificate. Well, I said, well, the quickest way to do this is I have airline miles. I'm flying to California. I will arrive in the morning, and I have to be at the airport at 4 in the morning the next day. So less than 24 hours, I am going to be in Los Angeles. So I said, hey, Todd, in 2 days, I'll be in LA. I got to stop at Vital Records, but other than that, I have no plans. Would you be down to shoot some footage for a music video for this track? And this dude, I mean, he didn't care if it was. I realized that LA is now much further drive than I anticipated. So he was willing to make like a 4-hour round trip to
Wow.
do this. And then when I realized that, I was like, no. Let's find a more mutual, something that works out better for you. You know, I appreciate you doing this. This is a favor that you're doing for me and not the other way around. So we were able to find something that was like 20 minutes away. And he came out. We shot the footage in the garage of Steven from 197 Media. If you're familiar, he films a lot of hardcore metal festivals, shows, things like that in the California area. And we did it in his garage. And it came out very, very well. Um, and Todd knocked it out in a few minutes. I knocked my parts out in a few minutes. And then we just sat around and talked and hung out for like 2 hours. It was very, very cool. He was super approachable, super nice. I'm very excited for what he has planned with Nails. Again, I know there's a lot of people who have maybe said some disparaging things about him, or maybe he's changed over the years. I don't know what the story is, but my impression of him is that he's an awesome dude. He was very nice. He did a lot. He was willing to accommodate a lot for us to be on this track, not only recording the vocals, but being in the video. And so I have nothing but respect for Nails, and I think this new album that they're going to drop is going to crush. So I'm excited for that.
Now you gotta go
Later
on
this year.
tour with them and play that song.
I would love for that to happen. And I'm not saying that it wasn't discussed, but maybe one day that could very well happen. We'll see.
So since you're not driving right now, I would like to show
Yes.
the artwork so you can talk about it and not and not be in a car wreck. So you
Well,
don't
please, yeah. No,
find the
no.
police.
Yeah, I went ahead and just pulled over just to be
Yes.
respectful, because I didn't want the engine running too, and all that noise in the background. So I'm
Oh,
safely pulled over, just hanging out. So yeah. Feel free to pull up whatever you need to do.
yeah, here's the artwork for Echoes in the Devil's Den, the upcoming
Sure.
album. This is your fourth album. So yeah, this is a awesome artwork. So tell me a little bit about this artwork, the idea behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it does tie into the album name. And just to be clear, so we've released a couple of EPs, but this is actually our second full length album.
Mm,
So I would say that this is our second album.
yeah,
But
the
we've
one
done
in
some
2020 is the full length, but yeah, you don't when I look at them online, they say they're albums. Yeah. So
Sure. Oh yeah. No. You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, you're not wrong there. And I love those albums. Those were earlier on. But I think in 2020 was the more realized version of Terminal Nation, our first LP. And then this is I believe that this is the pinnacle. This Echoes of the Devil's Den is the pinnacle of what Terminal Nation is. And the next album, if we're getting worse every album, there's a problem. So I believe that this is a huge step up, and we're gonna continue to keep doing moving in that trajectory. As far as the album is concerned, we wanted something. The title is it's a little bit of a double meaning. So in Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, there's a state park called the Devil's Den State Park. Um, it's called that because there's a cave in the state park that has basically a hole in the cave that falls further than the eye can see. At this point, currently, I think it's filled with some acidic water, but
Okay.
at one time, maybe in the 1800s, it was just a hole, and people would, set up rope, a grapple, and try to climb down, and would end up falling to their death, never be seen again. It was a hole that was so big that, a lot of people didn't know where it ended. And I think there's some plates under the crust that every now and then hot air and cold air will come out from like a cooling plant. So it's basically like a hot spring. Um, and this hole in the ground. But for a long time, it was believed by natives and by settlers that this was a hole straight to hell. That the hot air that would come gushing out of it, the cold air that would come gushing out of it. A lot of people would say, stay away from that hole. That's where the devil lives. And so that was believed for a long time. And I think there's some paranormal stories in that state park of people going missing maybe for 4, 5, 6 days, and then being found after a search party was there. And the people that were found were under the impression, I think it was a child in the 40s. If my Arkansas paranormal history is correct, they were found, and their impression was they were only gone for like 5 or 10 minutes. They were not gone for a week, or whatever the case was.
Yeah, this is
Actually,
some
Netflix.
X-Files shit right here.
Yes, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And it's funny enough, Netflix. I wish I remembered the name of the series, but they just released a docu-series on some paranormal related things, and they did a whole episode on an alien abduction that actually occurred at the Devil's Den State Park, where
Yeah, I saw
uh
that. Yeah.
okay, so yeah, there's a lot of spooky shit that goes on here. The cave where the hole is, my understanding is it's now like sealed up so nobody could go in it,
So you're not
because I
shooting
think
a music video there.
we are not. We've talked about it, and maybe some laws would have to be broken to do it, but you know what, I won't say that on record. Never say never, but it's boarded up. It's locked up, if you will. I think there was like a lot of maybe high school age kids that would go in there with an Ouija board or some kind of like something like that to kind of see just how haunted it is. And it resulted in some people getting hurt, getting trapped, things like that. So I do believe it's not, that part of the park is not publicly accessible. Now,
Yeah.
the painter here is Adam Burke. If you're
Yeah.
not
Great
familiar,
artwork. Yeah.
okay, so yes, he's done countless albums, Fit for an Autopsy, Creeping Death, Eternal Champion, Gate Creeper, Sonogram Deprivation. I mean, he is just one of the most iconic um album art, like the painters for the metal world of this generation, I believe. And I kind of told him a little bit about the lore of the Devil's Den State Park. So on the back side of this record, it kind of opens up into a landscape where you can see more of the background landscape footage of what's behind this devil here. And it's actually kind of a replication of a certain part of the state park. It's just scorched and burned up, but yeah. So he kind of recreated that a part of that state park, just with a devil there standing up, standing in the midst of everything, if you will.
So you're putting some Arkansas lore on the map with this one. So yeah,
I
good to know the
I
story
think so.
behind that. So yeah, it sounds creepy, and yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, I could tell a lot of like people would go there and thinking like, and don't go there, man. Uh,
Sure.
so yeah, so is there there's a track, actually, the one that opens the album is Echoes of the Devil's Den. So
Correct.
even though this is not a concept record, but you do a lot of like mentioning of that. And also you talk about like Mother Earth. You talk about like cemeteries, like the last track is Release the Serpents, Dying Alive. So yeah, there's a lot of like hard stuff. But like I like that you did, the album is 12 tracks and you did something that makes sense. Since this album is very brutal at times, In the middle, you have Embers of Humanity, which is like the instrumental, like beautiful track.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm guessing you did that so people can get like a breather and prepare for the second half.
100%. Yes, we it was a very intentional move to put that there, to kind of separate side A and side B of the album. Um, I know you had mentioned, some of the tracks like Dying Alive, Release the Serpents, things like that. The second half, I know I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, and the thought is coming back to me, but the double meaning on Echoes of the Devil's Den, I think we wanted to represent where we're from, Arkansas, but also, um, while we were writing this album, actually, when we started kind of shelling out some songs, our bass player Chase Turner was in a pretty horrific car wreck, a pretty big car accident. Um, they thought that he may never play bass again, he may never work again, he may never have the life, the functionality of his body may not be the same after this wreck, and he bounced back harder than I think most people in this situation. Like, he is a fighter in every sense of the word. And that was as we were starting to just kind of noodle around the ideas of certain songs. When we really got to honing in the songwriting process, and as the songs were coming together, the ideas were coming together. As I mentioned a little earlier, a tornado hit my home,
Yes.
destroyed my home. That's where we practice at. We practice in the basement of that house. We don't have anywhere else to practice. So it did. I mean, my insurance company still owes me a a $250,000 at this point.
Oh,
And so it's frustrating, to say the least. It's been a long, arduous battle. It's the house is being rebuilt as we speak. So this week we're really, really putting in work. But this happened on March the 31st of 2023. Oh, yes, over a year ago, 13 months ago.
yeah.
And so my family we lived in a 600 square foot hotel for a few months. We've been living in a rental house for a bit now. And so it's very, very frustrating process to go through, but between myself and Chase, and obviously, like, the positive is we didn't die from the tornado, we didn't get killed from the
Yeah.
tornado, so that's good. Like, I can't complain there. We almost did, or I almost did, as I was in my truck, and the same tornado that hit my house hit my truck hit my truck too, and I just had to kind of get in the floorboard and wish for the best. Now I'm still here and I live to tell about it, but the Echoes of the Devil's Den is kind of um an expression to say that we have been pulled down to the depths of hell. You have heard the echoes of the Devil's Den. We have lived to tell about it, and we are stronger for it. So kind of a double meaning there. We are talking about the geography of Arkansas, and then we are talking about some of the experiences that we faced during the writing process of this album.
No, definitely you've been through a lot of stuff, man. So you're very positive for all the shit
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
that has gone down. So I know you guys uh you were playing a Decibel tour, I think, recently, right?
So not the tour, but we did play the Decibel Metal and Beer Fest in Philadelphia, and
Awesome.
it was an incredible experience. It was one of the coolest shows that we've ever had the opportunity to play.
Yeah. So the album is out this Friday. What are the plans now and it's out on $20 pink, so people can
Correct.
still pre-order it. Once the album is out, like do you have like some shows shows booked?
Yeah, so we actually have a little weekend run in a few weeks here with our friends in Morbid Visions. They are our death metal band here from Arkansas. Um and the very sick band. They are on Maggot Stomp. They have a very solid EP. We play a lot of shows together. I'm good friends with everybody in that band. I love that band. But we're playing 3 dates with them out to Colorado Springs for a festival, Olympic Dissonance Fest,
Mhm.
which is with Fuming Mouth, which is with Body Box, Snuffed on Sight, 10 to the Chest, Maul, Tribal Gaze, a lot of fantastic bands. And while we had originally planned to kind of do a 2 or 3 week tour around this time up to Canada, um, we had a little bit of hurdles and had to kind of shorten that run to just 3 days. But we do have other runs in the coming months that we're going to talk about, or that we are going to later reveal, I suppose, including a solid record release show, a record release weekend with some very cool bands. We've recently got a very cool tour offer for the fall with a band that's kind of of similar style to us that I can't talk about right now, but I'm sure
Soon, maybe soon.
you'll hear about that in this
Yeah.
in the near future. We're a band that, we a lot of us have kids, a lot of us have full-time jobs. We have not been able to, make this a full-time touring band. But we do everything we can. It's kind of like the for as much as I have criticisms of the structure of the military, we do kind of follow that 2 weekends a month, 1 week a year National Guard um uh regimen, if you will, or at least the regimen they advertise before you sign up. And so we're big weekend warriors, I guess you could say, and try to get in cool shows when we can. We don't have a lot of opportunities to go out on the road. So, we have to be very decisive and choosy of what we can do. And when a cool offer comes along, we try to make it work.
Yeah, makes sense. So the album is out this Friday, people. I'll post the link. And where can people follow you in the social?
Yeah. So, I believe it's just Terminal Nation on Instagram. You can search Terminal Nation on Facebook. And then I believe it's just Terminal Nation on Twitter. But you can find all the information, including merch stores, including where to pre-order the album, including, some live videos, some previous interviews, things like that. All of that can be found at terminalnation.net. So that's the best resource to go to. We own that domain. And that kind of links you to anything that you would need in terms of socials, in terms
That's
of
everything
listening.
in one platform, and it's yours.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So you told me. So you had a busy day. Did you? I think I heard right. You got a new tattoo too, right?
I did get a new tattoo. Okay, this actually this is a good conversation piece. We decided for as a band, I say we as a band, we
Hopefully not a
decided.
tramp stamp.
No, it was hey,
I'm joking
it
with
was
you, man.
talked
I'm
about.
joking.
It was talked about, but no. So we decided that we wanted to get the original, the older Terminal Nation logo tattoo. For a lot of people that don't know, we've been a band for 10 years. Actually, tomorrow is the 10th when the album drops.
Yeah, I
The day
read
the
that.
album drops is the 10-year
Word of
anniversary of
fame.
our first ever show. So we started this band kind of as a side project to have a little bit of fun, and it evolved into something much bigger, which is a good problem to have. But today, a lot of us got our first Terminal Nation tattoo, and I might just step out for a second and show it to you if you can see it on my leg.
Ah,
The
nice.
TN logo, kind of in a circle, in some barbed wire.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very kind of a spur of the moment thing. We just, a friend of ours is a tattoo artist, and we were like, hey, can we schedule a few hours and you just do everybody back to back to back to back?
You imagine
And
if I would have been interviewing you while you were getting that tattoo.
I thought that might happen. I actually had to swap with another
And every time that I
swap.
talk to you, you're like, ah.
No, it really wasn't that bad. It was actually over before, I was, when he was like, "Hey, we're done," I was like, "Oh, we thought we just got started," so it wasn't too bad. But no, I almost threw the idea of interviewing you or doing the interview with you during the tattoo, but we shuffled ourselves around to
I,
make
I
sure that
don't
that
walk
wasn't
in
the case.
interviews. Yeah, that would have been a first. That would have been interesting. And the tattoo artist be like, okay. So, Stan, it's been awesome chatting with you about Terminal Nation, about the album, music, life. Like you're very open to that. You talked about like the struggles that you had, but that makes for good music, I guess, at the end.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I think something that I've said for a long time is, and actually something that's maybe quoted in the song Cemetery of Imposters, is that hard lives make hard people, and hard people make hard music. And so I think it hits a lot harder when you know that it's coming from a genuine place of, whether it's struggle, strife, suffering, anger, whatever the case may be. When the emotion is genuine, that's when the music is at its best, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I agree. Like a lot of music that I grew up with, like it's angry and but it comes from that, and it's better than listening to like Taylor Swift.
Sure, sure, sure.
Or something like, oh, she's so angry, she's been dumped so many times. Oh, come on. But yeah, Stan, so I'll put the link for people who want to pre-order that and want to know more about the band, and follow them on the
Awesome.
socials. So they're going to be sporadic tours here and there. So before I let you go, like what would you like to say to the Terminal Nation fans?
I For fans of Terminal Nation, I would like to say that I hope we put a lot of literal blood, sweat, and tears into this album. This album was written in a basement that was partially covered in rubble with no air conditioning. Very little. It was the only room in the house with electricity after the tornado. But it was very fitting for the subject matter. And reminded us of our struggles every day. So we put a lot of ourselves into everybody in this band pushed themselves to the limit that the limits that they've never had before musically, myself included. And I'm very happy with the way that it turned out. I think it comes off very genuine. I think it comes off as a very cohesive piece of music. I may be biased, but I think it's pretty damn good. So I hope that you give it a shot. If you're a Terminal Nation hater, and there are Terminal Nation haters out there, this one might be the one that sways your opinion. I don't know, maybe not, but either way, if you love us, if you hate us, if you love us, thank you so much for the support. If you hate us, I don't give a shit. Go fuck yourself. Thank you for listening either way, if you do check it out. And thank you for the interview. It's been super awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation. It was very fun, and I appreciate you kind of bearing with me on the initial technical difficulties. I need to
Well,
learn my time zones a little bit
no,
better.
no. Sometimes
My
I get
apologies.
confused with the time zones as well, and I can relate because living in Puerto Rico, I went through hurricanes. I went through 3 months without
Yeah.
electricity. So
Oh, I'm sure.
I know I didn't make an album, but I had a
You
new.
should have. Maybe you should have. Yeah, yeah.
I suck. But there's bands in Puerto Rico that made albums after the hurricane and stuff, and so struggling. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very cool. Not to, I know we were kind of closing up on the subject matter there, but I would love to hear about these bands from Puerto Rico that had made music after that struggle. I recently visited the motherland of El Salvador about a month or so ago, and found a very robust metal scene there,
oh
with some
there's
very impressive bands. So I'm always looking for more bands in Latin American territories and countries and areas and things like that. So if you have any suggestions, I'll check out some Puerto Rican bands. I appreciate any suggestions you could toss my way.
oh yeah, like I'll write to you on the
Please.
Instagram, and I'll send you bands that you can listen to.
Awesome, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for everything. I really
Thank you
appreciate it.
for
This was super
joining
fun.
me virtually on the couch. Yeah. So
Anytime, anytime. Maybe we'll talk on the next album too.
maybe. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.